The Starship Troopers series has never been as relevant as these past couple years, especially with the release of Helldivers 2. I don't mean to say that the Starship Troopers wasn't a huge thing before that, but it did get put on the map for the younger generation as well. It is a 90s movie after all. It had all the right ingredients: comedy.
What about you, son?
Infantry, sir.
Oh my Good for you. Mobile infantry made me the man I am today.
Romance.
I'm gonna miss you.
I'm gonna miss you too.
I love you.
Adrenaline pumping, bug slaying action, and being a parody of fascism, which somehow flew over everyone's head. The entire Starship Troopers franchise is funny in so many wrong ways. The book that the movie was parodying is pro-war. Then the director liked the name of the book, but decided not to read the book because it was so very boring, and then he made an anti-war movie. It's a movie that misunderstood the book it was parodying, and then the movie got misunderstood for what it was parodying. I remember watching this movie as an 8-year-old kid. Yes, a very early age to be watching shit like this. Slovak television did not care. And neither did my parents. And so as a little kid loving video games in Eastern Europe, we're always like 100 years behind everyone else. The way we used to buy video games was, I'd walk into Tesco, there was this little section filled with games, but they weren't your typical AAA titles. Or shit like this. Spy Hunter, better known as the Rock game. It never ran properly, I don't know why. Conflict Vietnam, Rogue Troopers, Aliens vs Predator. This is such a good game, by the way. This is a classic. Everyone needs to play this. If you're a fan of aliens or predators or humans, I don't fucking care. You need to play this. So one day I walked into the store and I remember I bought the original Starship Trooper 2005 video game. I know I had the CD somewhere, but for the love of God I don't know where. Now fast forward to 2025. Starship Troopers Terran Command exists, Starship Troopers Extermination, Helldivers 2. There's been a couple of new releases in these past few years. Do I consider Helldivers 2 a Starship Troopers game? Of course I do, everyone does. It just isn't in its name. So today I want to discuss not just the Starship Troopers games and if they're any good, but also their connection to the movies or lack thereof. And first, I want to start with the one you've probably never heard about. Released in October 2005, the Starship Troopers game expands on the story from the original Starship Troopers movie and its first sequel, Starship Troopers 2, Hero of the Federation. Yes, that Starship Troopers movie. The movie where they completely forgot what the franchise even is about and turned it into Resident Evil meets The Thing knockoff. I was watching both Starship Troopers movies yesterday and I was caught so insanely off guard once I got to the second one. I couldn't believe it! They went from a parody action comedy romance triangle type movie to a horror one. It was pretty cool though. Garbage, but cool. The whole internet acts like it just doesn't exist. I see where they're coming from. The reason I enjoyed the movie so much is not even because of Starship Troopers, but because the whole control bug species and the way they transfer it reminds me of Las Plagas from Resident Evil. Especially the one scene in Resident Evil Damnation, where they hold the soldier down and insert the bug mouth to mouth. It's disgusting, brutal, terrifying, plus the fact that they slowly degrade, turn grey and their eyes become red is literally Las Plagas. Back to the topic. Starship Troopers 2005 video game.
Move it, you apes! Do you want to live forever?
The game follows the story of a lone marauder. Marauders were not part of the first two movies. They exist. They were probably mentioned in the book, which I haven't read. Neither has the director. Marauders do show up later in the third installment, but their take is complete garbage. The Marauder in this game is, in my opinion, much cooler. You're basically a tank. You are put in an armor that makes you stronger, faster, more resilient. You're given the MK4 variant of the trooper rifle. It has infinite ammo. It can't pierce the armored box, so that's a minus, but it has infinite ammo, and you get sent out on every mission possible around every planet in the universe. You do follow the story of the two movies, but from a completely different perspective. You don't meet the characters from the movies, basically. The game starts out with us sleeping in our quarters, putting on our armor, having a fighting range tutorial until the alarms start ringing. This is the invasion of Klendafu. As you know, the movie takes place in 3 locations, well, 4 if we count Earth. The first bug war was on Klendafu, which it didn't go too well, but in the game we were sent in as their game-changing reinforcement. The way the game portrays it, it wasn't a complete failure, because we, the Marauder, saved the whole situation by fighting off off hundreds of bugs on our own and retrieving our first outpost. Then in the movie, after the disaster at Kandafu, the Sky Marshal resigns and we proceed towards Tango Urilla. And here, I'm not really sure how the game and the movie are connected. In the movie, there's an airstrike, roughnecks are deployed alongside Johnny Rico to clean it up and explore the overrun whiskey outpost, which ended up being an ambush, as you know. The same thing happens in the game. You see, in the game, we arrive at Outpost Whiskey. Wait, hold on a second. The Starship Trooper game, it isn't set on the same planet as the movie? Not even the timeline is the same? It's 5 years from now. The Battle of Klendafu isn't this. This is Battle of Hesperus. It looks pretty much the same, and then the ambush at Whiskey Outpost. This happened on Planet B with the Outpost 29 mission. That is on Hesperus once again. Same story. Overrun Outpost. We come to collect information where all of a sudden hordes of bugs start their attack. We get rescued the same exact way as in the movie. What a coincidence. I guess they haven't learned a single thing in 5 years. What confused me is the game uses clips from the first and second movie as if to explain what happened, but then it uses narration that talks of the in-game events.
One such patrol is approaching a remote fort deep in bug territory, Outpost 29.
And we're also on a completely different planet, which is basically the same as the planets in the movies. And now we're going completely off rails. This next mission resembles the movie only a bit. We are going to a mountain to take out plasma bugs as they're hitting our fleets in space. Same situation as Kandafu. I wonder how the entire story repeats itself after 5 years. After killing the plasma bugs, we're picked up once again and taken to another location as a marauder does not require rest. This time we're taken to a stronghold. And now we're in the Starship Troopers sequel territory. Strongholds are fortified tower outposts used by citizens in the first bug war. They are not shown at all in the first movie, but they are the main point in Starship Troopers 2. Thankfully, the game doesn't reach the levels of weirdness the second movie does. We get deployed to the last stronghold. The strongholds hold reserves of fuel that we need to complete our invasion. So as the strongest member of society, the Marauder is supposed to hold it until we fuel up everything we have. We deploy, the electric fences don't work. A solution? A mech trooper that would be able to turn them on. Is he here? Yes. So what's the hold up then? Oh, nothing. He's just been fucking misplaced. He got dropped off in the middle of a horde. Could be a reference to the second movie. I'm not sure. I'll go with a reference. Yo, what the fuck? I thought he was about to kill himself. Bro, be careful. And also, after succeeding in our mission, we are being left behind.
Marauder, I have bad news. Fleet can't afford to risk one of their boats for such a small number of men. Fleet does the flying, while MI does the dying.
So anyway, our crazy pilot decides we're worth it and gets us out of here, because you know, plot armor. This next mission is where the game starts shaping its own story. We lost one of our marauders. He got sent out on a mission into this waste facility in the middle of bugware. Here we meet new bugs, a toxin variant of the yellow armored bug, and a whole as rhino. We go through this tedious facility full of enemies and slow elevators until eventually finding him, but instead of getting out of here, he activates a nuke.
Never trust PSYOPs.
Don't move! Something just activated that nuke.
Thanks for that, soldier. A huge antlion named the Royal Bug runs after us when we're once again saved by our pilot. But don't worry, this game is going to get like 3 times weirder than the original movie. This mission is quite simple. We're launching an offensive against the bugs, but they're trying to foil our plans. Naturally, we, the Marauder, are dropped in to clean this mess up. We're leading forces down these bridges and tunnels and slowly clearing out the bugs that took over this area. You do that, it's done. Very simple, not much to talk about. Now this is where the shit actually goes down. The PSYOPs mission. We're on a rescue mission to save one of our PSYOPs generals. If you don't know what PSYOPs are, or if you haven't watched the movies like at all, the PSYOPs are higher members of the military hierarchy, which have psychic powers. Yes, psychic, third eye here. At the third eye, powers. They're able to read minds, talk to you without comms.
The area is crawling with cliff mites.
And even more, which were going to be shown in this mission. The place that we're dropped in is similar to the desert in Starship Troopers Part 2. Look at this. Like, I knew there was this whole thing with the psychic powers and shit, but I thought it was only simple stuff like mind reading at first. This dude is using some X-Men Professor Xavier type bullshit. Like, what is this? He even kinda looks like him. If Professor X had functioning legs and instead of fighting in the Korean War, he fought for Germany in the year 1940. The mission mission so far was straightforward. Professor X hides in his little armored vehicle and I have to do everything on my own. So, we turned on the power in his facility and went all the way into their testing chambers. And this is the part I wanted to talk about. This big ass bug named the X-Bug. It's even called X-Bug. X-Man X-Bug. Okay, I'll walk myself out. The thing also has psychic powers. The Professor X bug. So anyway, we rescue this psychic abomination and bring it to Fort Atacama, where the bug is used as bait. And not just the bug, but us, the troopers alongside it. Well, bugs arrive, they're overwhelming us, so the captain tells me, fire a nuke into their backline. I do that and it knocks out our electricity. Now we have no fences, which basically guarantees us being overrun. Now I gotta go down into our fucking basement and restart the generator. And I found this moment so goddamn cool. There's so much shooting happening. You hear bugs, you hear footsteps, loud noises, screaming. You turn the power off, the lights go out, and it's quiet everywhere.
People are dying up top. Find the goddamn switch.
Emergency shutdown initiated.
And this part heavily reminded me of the Alien vs Predator Marine Campaign nightclub mission. The way everything is quiet, you turn the power on, the loud music starts blaring, you hear screaming, and xenomorphs rush towards you. It was identical, but it was like reversed. It always gives me goosebumps. I love it. But then the bugs just dig 60 miles underground and reach me for some reason. How did the bugs know we had underground hangar doors that were for some reason built here, even though nothing can reach them? I fought them off, and on the surface was an even worse situation. Most of our soldiers were now gone. The bugs probably ate good while I was doing maintenance downstairs. Now I was like 1v100, having to protect the dumb X-Bug for 10 minutes before the command gave us permission to explode it.
I heard about this pilot. She crashed her pod straight into a hive. By all accounts, it got pretty crazy down there.
This dialogue is most definitely mentioning the Captain Carmen and the brain bug scene. I know it's hard to believe, but this game is connected to the universe. So this game goes like this. It resembles the original movie identically, then it branches out into sequel territory. After that, there's a couple missions that follow its completely own story, only to end up in the bug hives and capturing the brain, which is identical to the movie's ending. The only difference, the X-Bug boss fight that took me 30 minutes to beat. Wait, we're not there yet? Alright, I forgot about this snooze fest of a mission. I hate the kind of missions that barely have a story, just run and gun. And this is one of them. From point A to point B, you're only shooting bugs. Yes, in lore, this is like the turning point. We're basically being led to the brain bug by following these ends, but still. And finally, the time has come. The X-Bug has led us all the way to their nest. All we must do is shoot 100,000 bugs to finally reach it. Here he is, the big boy. Listen, this boss fight, my goodness gracious, I kept shooting its eyes for 20 minutes straight, thinking the X-Bug is the same as the Royal Guard, and I thought this guy has like 1,000,000 health. I wasn't supposed to just shoot his eyes, I had to shoot his belly as well. Oh my god.
Yes! I don't know how you did that, and I don't much care. All I know is that the brain bug is ours.
The Marauder did it! He killed that monster bug! That Marauder's the toughest SOB to ever put on a suit. Get that fat, brainy bastard out of that cave! Come on! We've got plans for him!
And this is where it ends. The commander touches the brain as in the movie and makes an incredible discovery.
It's afraid.
He's afraid! He's afraid! The end. The original Starship Troopers game, man, it's bad. It's so bad that it's good. I'm probably just influenced by the wave of nostalgia that hit me playing it after like 11 years, but still. The story is just a reenactment of the first two movies, but on its own planet and 5 years after the original events. In my opinion, they shouldn't have even tried making their own story. If you're going to be copying like every part of the movie, it just makes the military sound very bad if the exact same events happen with no changes. And now I bring it up to date. Starship Troopers Terran Command and Starship Troopers Extermination. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really have much to say about these titles. From what I've looked up and played myself, Starship Troopers Extermination does take place in the original universe 20 years after the events of the first movie. But in Starship Troopers, there are classes you get to play like the Sniper, Demolisher, Guardian, Engineer, Medic and Ranger. There isn't all that much to say about this game. It doesn't have an interesting story or anything. From what I've read and watched, the single player campaign is very straightforward since the game isn't meant to be played solo. It looks fun, but other than that, there's nothing else. And then Terran Command, I have bought this one for the sake of the video. This time we are much closer to the original Starship Troopers timeline. This game is set after the Battle of Klendathu. And what's cool is the game uses Battle of Klendathu as like the tutorial level, so I was already intrigued. After the events of Klendathu, you are sent as a commander to a mining planet named Kwalasha. I love this idea. The fact that there are already colonized planets where we encounter workers and civilians. Our mission is to clean this planet up so our people can go back into the mines, as somehow the bugs have invaded us. So you go through various scenarios, fighting back swarms of bugs. I'm once again going to be a bit biased. I love RTS games, and this one was so much fun. You have your typical warrior bugs, hoppers, and a new take on the spitter bug and much more. There's also DLCs to Starship Troopers Terran Command, but I'm not going to talk about those as enough money has been spent. The troopers you command are your typical infantry units, snipers, engineers, which can build turrets and wield flamethrowers. And there's also marauders, but not the 2005 video game ones, the third movie installment ones. Also, I looked up Starship Troopers Marauder and realized the 2005 game Marauder is something completely different, because in my eyes the 2005 Marauder is what he was supposed to be, but in reality Marauders are the same thing as amplified mobility platforms from the movie Avatar. I find that quite lame. The game Marauder is much cooler than that. I'll let you, the viewer, decide if these Marauder mechs are better. And that concludes the Starship Trooper games that exist. I'm not going to talk about Helldivers 2. Everyone knows the game at this point, and I haven't played it yet, so I wouldn't be the right person to talk about it. Objectively, given the fact that the Starship Troopers franchise is quite large and very well known, it severely lacks games. If you think about it, the only game before the 2023 RTS was the 2005 game. That's only one game that was released in almost 2 decades. I wonder what made people realize that this franchise is good enough to make more games based in its universe. And I hope there's more to come. Animated movies are still being made, comics exist, someone needs to make more games. Well, anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about. Have a nice rest of the day and bye. Come on, you apes! Wanna live forever?